Hey guys, welcome back. So in this lecture, we're going to see the difference between isDisplayed, isEnabled, and isSelected method, or the use case of those three methods. So all of the three methods are Boolean methods. So this is the similarities. So it means all those methods return either true or false. But the difference, they have some significant difference. So let's talk about isDisplayed. So isDisplayed method is used to verify whether any object on a site is present or not. So it is applicable to any web object and returns true or false. So there are some scenarios where the elements needed to be, handled when the hidden or invisibles, but the code is present in HTML. So it's happened in real life. You will find some elements. It's hidden some reason because the activities of through that elements is not ready, but element is there. It means the HTML code is there. So in that time, if you need to test for that element to ensure that element is displaying or not, it should be hidden. So that time, if you use isDisplayed method on that for that specific element, it should return false. So to define any elements, whether it's displaying or not, that time we can use isDisplayed method, and it will return, as I said, it's true or false. Let's see an example. So here is our Codenbox Automationlab practice page. So here you will find element this enable, or here you will find there's a text box. You can see there's a text box. By default it's displaying, but here is a two button. One is the hide, another one is show. So if I click on hide, so this text box gets hide or disappear, but it's not displaying doesn't mean that text box is not there. So text box is still there, is a code in an HTML code, but it's not displaying. So here what you're going to do, we can do a test over here. Like first we can see this element, this text box is displaying, right? So if we find this element, use the locator and use isDisplayed method, it should return true. Then we can use hide, click on hide button. Then again, if we try to use isDisplayed method on the text box, it should return false. And then again, if we click on show, then if we again use the isDisplayed method on for this text box, it should be return true. Okay, so this is the way we can do an exercise like hiding an element and use the isDisplayed, and when it's displaying, use the isDisplayed method, and we can see that return one time it would be true and another time would be false. Okay, so let's go to our Eclipse. So here we're going to create a class. We'll give a say is display test. Okay, finish this, and let's copy all the common code and here. And now first things we're going to do, let's see before we let's get this three variable, the locator for these three elements. Okay, so for the text box, let's inspect this. For the text box, you can see this, there is an ID for text box. So there is an ID. So I will type here driver dot find element by dot ID. Okay, by dot ID, and then the value of the ID would be this. So this is for text box. Let's put this one in a variable. I would give a name. This one is a text box. text box, and the return type would be web element. Okay, over mouse, import the package, so text box, right? Let's find the locator for the next one. It's a show button, so this is a show. Let's inspect this. For the show, again, this is the ID for the show. So let's create, I will just copy this one. You know what, I'll change it, and then I will put the ID. Here is the ID. Just change the ID, just change the value of the ID of the show, and then I will change the name over here. I will give a name over here, say show button btn. Okay, that's right. And the third one, for the variable, the locator for this hide element, let's inspect. Here is the hide. Okay, so you can see, let's copy the same one, and then we'll paste it. Change the value of the ID. So this is the hide, right? Hide is the ID is this. Let's update here. So value of the hide, this is the value of the hide, and then change the name over here, hide, the variable name, hide button. Okay, so there's a three locator, or three web element. So now I'm going to, first is a by default, you can see by default this text box is displaying. So if I use isDisplay method on this locator for this text box, it's supposed to return me true, right? So I will say sysout, sorry, sysout, and then I will say, where is the text box? So text box, this text box, the locator of the text box is displayed method. So I'm applying isDisplayed method on the text box. So text box by default it's displaying, so it should return true, and it will print this true in our console. So okay, so I'm expecting over here for this true. Okay, so it is displaying is true. And then next I want to click on hide button. So if I click on the hide button, this text box will be disappear, it will be hide. So let's click on hide button. So click on hide button. Here is the hide, the locator. This is the variable hide dot click. Okay, I'm clicking that. So after I click, and now after I click, now if I just call the same statement, text box is displayed. So this time it's supposed to give me return as a false, right? Because I already hide it, right? And after that I will click on the show. Again, if I click on the show, let me click on the show. Let's click on show button dot click, show button dot click. Okay, then after I click on show, so this now, and if I again print this one, this supposed to call this statement, it's supposed to give me the true, right? So you can see, using a isDisplayed method, it will return always either true or false. It depends on if this element is displaying, it will say true. If this element is hidden, it will return me false. Let me save and run it. Okay, run it. It already did. It was so quick. It did the job, because we can see the output over here. So you can see the output over here, true, then false, then true. Okay, if you want to exactly slow down the execution, you can put some thread.sleep, and then you can see the execution. Okay, and at the end you can do the driver.quit. Okay, so this is the use case of the isDisplayed. So bottom line, we use isDisplayed method on an element to ensure whether is element is displaying or not. If that element is displaying, it will return the true. If the element is not displaying, it will return false. Okay, we're going to see how to use isEnabled method, or the use case of isEnabled method. So isEnabled method is used to confirm whether an element is enabled or disabled. If enabled, it would return true, otherwise it will return false. Let's see an example. Here in our practice page, here you can see there is a text field. It is by default is enabled. It means, you know, you can type something here. You can type something here. Okay, it's this text field is enabled or active. But if I click on disable button, now if I try to, you know, I'm clicking, but it's not taking, and I'm not able to type anything. So I'm trying to type, but it's not let me type it because this text box now is disabled. Okay, so you might have a similar situation in a similar scenario. Say a lot of times, you know, we see in our application there is a terms and condition. Then, you know, unless you accept the terms and condition, you're not able to, you know, click on submit or next button. So you have to accept the terms and conditions. Sometimes, like when you know, do some agreement or you do download, before you download any software, there's a terms and conditions. So you click on accept the terms and condition, then there will be submit button, or the next button will be enabled. Other than that, next button will be disabled. So you have to test that next button, the button or field is disabled by default, or by default is enabled. Okay, so you have to test how to do this. Exactly the same scenario we can do over here. So since it's the disable, after I click on disable, this button is this text field is disabled. So I'm not able to, you know, I'm not able to write anything. So if I click on enable again, now I can type it again, test it again. So we're going to see that default scenarios is this text field is enabled. So if we look at this this text field and we use isEnabled method, it will return true. Then after that, we'll click on disable this button. Then again, we'll use this locator for this text field, and we will apply the isEnabled. It's supposed to return false because this text field is now disabled, is not active. And again, if we click on there, and again if we look at this text field and use this enable method, it's supposed to return me true. Okay, let's go. So let's go to our Eclipse, click in a method, new a class. So we'll say isEnabled test. Okay, this is the isEnabled test. And then okay, and let's copy our common code. Okay, where is a new Chrome driver, create an object of the Chrome driver Chrome driver class, and puts in a variable object reference and return to this web driver. And here is a, you know, maximize the window, and also this is our, you know, application URL, right? So let's, you know, first it's look at this text field. So inspect this. Here is, I can see there is an ID, okay, for this text field, right? Yes, so copy this one. Let's say driver dot find element by dot ID, and this is the value of the ID. Okay, and let's put this variable, this locator in a variable. It's called, you know, the text box. Sorry, text box, and then return type would be web element. Okay, over your mouse, import the package. Okay, and the next one we're going to use for the hidden. I'm just copying this one. I would say the disable one, right? So let's inspected disable. This is the ID for disable button. So all I'm going to, since it's an ID, I'm going to change the value over here, ID, and this is the disable btn button, and then return type would be web element. Okay, and then similar, I'm just copying the same code, just will change the value of the ID if there is a ID properties available for enable. Let's see, this is the ID for enable. Yeah, there is ID. Okay, so copy this and then change the value over here, ID for the enable, and then put this one in it. It's called enable btn button, and then return type would be web element. Okay, so this is the 3 locator. Now I'm going to use sysout system.out, and then I will call this, pass this text box, then I will say isEnabled. Is that text field is by default is enabled? Yes, it is by default is enabled, so it will supposed to return true, right? And then I will call disable button. I will click on the disable button. So after I click, so disable button dot click, I'm clicking on the disable button, so it should click on there, it should click on disable button. Okay, and then if I try to type something, it's not going to be I'm not able to type anything, so it's disable now. So I click on the disable. Now again I will call this print statement. This time this text box, if I apply this enable isEnabled method to text box, it's supposed to sell me false because it's disable now. So that's what I'm expecting, right? And again, let's click on the enable button, enable dot click, and then again if I call this print statement, so this time now is enable supposed to be true because it's now able to, if I since I click on the enable this button, so it's now it's active, so you can see I can type. So this is supposed to give me the true. Okay, let's save it, run it. You're not able to see anything difference over here because there will be nothing else we're doing here. If you want, you can type something. That's another extra line you can add on your code, but that's okay. But you can see the return. So here is a true first. This is the default, right? And then we have seen this the false. It was the false, and then here you can see true. So true was the default because its text box is enabled, and after that we click on disable, and then again we apply the isEnabled method, the same text box, it's returning false. Then we click on enable, and then again we apply the isEnabled to text box, it's returning true. Okay, so that's the way you can use isEnabled method to any web object to define whether it's active or not, whether it's enable or disable. Okay, I hope that it's very clear. Hey guys, so in our last 2 lecture we have seen the use case of isDisplayed and isEnabled method. So in this lecture we're going to see the use case of isSelected method. So isSelected method is only applicable to checkbox, drop down, or radio button on an application, and it will also return Boolean like true or false. Here is an example. In our previous lecture we have covered how to automate radio button checkbox, but for this specific use case I'm going to have a very quick, we'll just select say radio button, radio 1. Okay, so let's create a class first, new, and create a class. I'll say isSelected, right? It's isSelected test. Okay, I'll give a name isSelected test. Finish. And I will just copy the common line of code which is related our Chrome driver object, and the driver reference and WebDriver return types, maximize the window, and also launching our application. Okay, and here let's spy radio button 1, inspect. So this is radio button 1. I think it's radio button 1. You can use selector sub. So let's use the selector sub. I can use label for, okay, radio. You know what, I will use here radio button 1. There is an input. Okay, the value is radio 1, so I'm going to use this one, radio 1, and the tag name is input. Okay, I can create an XPath, so I will say driver dot find element, all right, by dot XPath. So I can create the XPath, which is / tag name is input, and at the red, and the attribute is value equals to, this is the value of the values ready for the radio 1. Okay, and then if I click on use the click method, so it will be click on the radio 1 button, right? You know what, I will click later on. Let's put this one on a variable. It's called RD button. Okay, and wave element. Wave element is a return type. Import the related package. So now I'm going to use this locator button and then apply a click method. Click method. So it should click, or it should select the radio button 1. Okay, and after that I will say sys out. I will call again this radio button. So, and then I will call isSelected method. Okay, isSelected methods, it's supposed to return me true. Why? Because here I already applied the click method to this button, so it should be selected. So since it's selected, this statement isSelected method will be applied in the same locator, and in this locator this button already selected, already clicked, so here it should return true. That's it's been selected or not, so it should be selected, so it should return true. Okay, save it and run it. Okay, you can see radio 1 bin already clicked, selected. Close this one. Let's see, and also you can see output is true. Okay, so this is the use case of isSelected. So isSelected, it's help you to ensure whether your wave element like your checkbox or your radio button or your drop down option has been selected or not. Okay, that's all. Thank you.